Thank you for joining me. Today I'd like to introduce you to 9 great books for anyone who wants to study fashion. I'm Laura Volpin-Testa. I'm a published fashion author. I've been on the faculty at Parsons School of Design in New York City since 1997. I teach concepts, model drawing, portfolio development, and I've also taught draping, pattern making, and sewing in my early years of teaching. I graduated from Parsons in 1995. I spent a year at their Paris school. I'm crazy about fashion and creativity. I'm excited about diverse fashion, positive body image, ethical fashion, all the good stuff. I'm so excited to have this space where I can really focus on fashion being the very best that it can be. And I'd like to share some great tools with you for that. So I'm just going to go through some great books because I've had this question asked to me many times, so I'm answering for you today. What are some great books for someone who's starting with fashion design? I can't help. I got to start with my book, The Language of Fashion Design, and this came out last year in February. It's 26 principles every designer should know, and I was hired by a publisher, Rob Port Publishers, to write the book, and they wanted me to select 26 of the most important design principles for fashion. So I came up with that list: color, silhouette, texture, pattern, layers, things like that, detail, symmetry, asymmetry, function, stuff like that. So it's full of images, design images, and also lots of text describing how those different tools play out in the design process. And I specifically chose each image to really illustrate whatever I was talking about in that chapter. It also includes 26 biographies of designers that I specifically selected, one for each of the principles. And it also has a lot of illustrations in it. I contacted a lot of my former students and tried to include illustrations because I'm so passionate about fashion illustration and the expression and freedom that it offers. So I hope you enjoy the illustrations that are in there. I teach illustration and design on my online course, the Fashion Illustration Tribe Masterclass series. I am so passionate about illustration, so you'll definitely find some of those in there. Another great book I would recommend, number 2, The Fashion Designer's Textile Directory. If you don't live in a major city, one of the biggest challenges you have is you don't have access to these fabric stores with loads of bolts of fabrics of every kind where you can just ask for swatches or grab swatches. Swatches mean small samples of fabric that you can take home to your studio, to your desk, and use those swatches as inspiration for whatever you're designing. Touch the fabric while you draw. And then when you add color to your sketches, you match what you see right there on that sample. When you don't live near areas like that, then you have to buy yardage of fabric. This is actually a yardage of fabric right here behind me. And the great thing about that is that you can stretch it, you can feel its weight, you can feel its thickness, and actually, even make things out of it. So that's not all bad. But the great thing is, learning textiles can be really daunting in the beginning. This particular book, again, it's a book. It's a printed book. Fabric is a three-dimensional thing, so you won't be able to feel any of the fabrics. That's the drawback. But the great thing is that each page will have, it'll show samples. It will describe all the technical textile terms. What is a wool melton? What is a silk chiffon? What is organza? All these words you hear thrown around and you may not know what they all are. It will describe, it will show how it drapes, how it's used on a model. And it will also show, several different samples and describe what makes each one different and distinct. So you get a really good overview of different kinds of fabrics in the language of textiles. So I think this is a great primer and resource you can always refer to, either for design inspiration, which is the main reason I recommend all these books, but also, even look, things like lace and appliques. Having a little fashion library of your own. Yes, we have the internet, etc., but having a little stack of books that are full of great images and rich information is something you do not want to miss out on. Number 3, Fashion Design Course is a book I recommend. One reason I recommend it is such a great price, $24, maybe even less on Amazon. It's written by faculty from Parsons School of Fashion, and the cover may not look so interesting, but when you get inside, it gives you lots of resources of actual runway stuff and illustrations and swatches. So the great thing about this book, although some of the images are quite small, it just really gives you a peek into different designers and design students, and their individual styles and process of sketching, which is really, really useful. Look into people's design sketchbooks. If you look at my Pinterest boards, I have some of those things collecting, line sheets and like technical sketch presentations. This is right here is accessories, so bags and shoes. There's children's wear, men's wear, women's wear, so there's no one's excluded here. Although I've noticed there's no plus size, and the only issue I have is that some of these are like exaggerated, super long legs, super skinny, perhaps not realistic figures, which is not something I'm such a big fan of. Here's another one with menswear. So, fashion design course by Stephen Farm, I think, is a great thing to have. And the text, I just showed you images, but the text itself talks about the process, researching your designs. It even has, a little library of flat sketching, so you can get a look at how sketches can look. And I think you're really going to enjoy the resources of drawing styles in that book. So, number 4, and this is kind of extra, maybe it's extra to some of you, Field Guide to Fabric Design. For me, it's like essential. I love pattern and print. I don't even think maybe I wouldn't care about fashion if it weren't for color and print. This book breaks down, I know it looks a little crafty and quilty on the cover, but this is the book that single-handedly taught me how to create print repeats. It has a lot of resources about how you can even get your own fabric printed up through Spoonflower. Shows you about different processes for printing. It shows you resources for color, design inspiration, and shows you color stuff like color wheel, a little bit of color theory. Color theory is amazing, and I'm going to talk to you more about color theory. It even shows you how to use Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop on your computer to create print repeats, but don't worry, I've never really used it that way. I've only used it for hand, but the process of sketching repeats by hand is so fun and so exciting in here. And you can even use now collaging apps to take your little print designs and get them into repeat. So if you love print, pattern, fabric, I do recommend this wonderful book for deepening that and empowering yourself. In my course, I also give you some lesson on how to create a print repeat, so you can get it verbally. I recommend Fashion Design Research by Zinma Mbonu. This is a new book. I was reviewing it. That's how I kind of fell in love with it. I really enjoyed looking at it because when you are designing, sure, you can always work out of thin air. But a book like this will, especially if you're new to the industry or new to fashion study, this book will show you a lot of the different ways that people find resources. How do they find inspiration? I'm just going to read some of these titles out to you. For example, photography, drawing effectively, creative research. Okay, I'm just going to go to another. Film, copyright, how to organize your research, how to use the internet for research, how to use libraries for research, how to create a brand identity and communicate it. They have case studies in there, so you can see how individual designers work. Talks about how to get your design sketchbook or your croquis book underway. How to start researching is a chapter. Setting aside time for research, choosing fabrics as a chapter, fabric fairs, color and fashion, color terms. Okay, it's just an excellent resource. When you get stuck sometimes or sometimes you just want to be able to grab a volume like this and kind of flip through it. and something art materials. You will find great things to get you moving and kick-started, and give you new insights when you have a great collection of books. This is also not a crazy expensive book. I don't have the price on me right now, but I think this was like $35 or something. So most of the books I'm showing you, one of the reasons I'm showing them to you is because they're not outrageously overpriced. Next book I'm going to show you is created by a fellow faculty member and friend, Marcy Cooperman. Excellent book, Color, How to Use It. It's a big book, and it actually comes with a resource of all these color swatches for doing different exercises. But between you and me, and I think I'm going to make some course going forward about this, it's not just about color. It's about color and design. There is so much information here about design, composition, color stories, how everything works together. Loads of examples. Yes, there's a lot of text, and what you need to know is there's so much you can gather just by peeking over it. Like, design principles are illustrated and explained with captions, and studying color theory changed my life. It would change your life too. It's one of the courses that I want to launch, is color theory, because you start to realize that you can manipulate color and understand how it works. Is just so empowering. It's like learning to speak a language. Even though we experience color all the time, starting to change your perception of color by understanding how it works, it's just literally mind-blowing. It's an amazing experience. And what I want to say is that the first few chapters and exercises, the very first, even if you got only this far into the book, you would have an excellent foundation of the most important principles that you want to learn about color. Comes with exercises at the end of each chapter summary, and quick ways to kind of look over what you've done if you do an exercise, and how to like self-check yourself. And there are not a lot of great color books out there. This is like the book, and it's so informative. You may want a teacher to break it all down for you. I plan to roll out a color theory course because I'm so in love with it. But having this book and just reading through literally chapter 1 and 2, you will be changed already. So that's my recommendation. We have 3 more to go. I'm going to recommend first The Art of Zandra Rhodes. Yes, maybe this looks like it's out of nowhere. This book is probably out of print, but you can find it affordably online. Zandra Rhodes was not trained as a fashion designer. She was a textile designer whose mother was a fashion design teacher at a university. Her story is amazing. This book shows how she designed all her own fabrics and created all her garments from her own fabrics, and developed her own techniques for dressmaking and design. So the next 2 books I tell you about are going to be about technical stuff, pattern making and draping, which you would learn in any fashion school or pattern making, dressmaking courses. But I want you to remember that sometimes learning all of the traditional things that people are doing now is not always the way to go. Zandra Rhodes developed her own, I'm going to show you some golden stuff, her own methods, and you realize that humans have a basic instinct toward creating garments. If you look at caftans and stuff, the original garments are made from woven fabric, rectangles, that were developed into shapes. So you can see, aside from her unique hand-drawn and hand-painted fabric designs that were also often designed to actually fit onto a garment. Like, for example, this piece would be a skirt where the waist, was actually cut out here. And when you wear the skirt, the pattern drops all around the model. How amazing is that, right? You could see some of her original sketches. And I love this because it's just totally out of the box. I'm out of the, fashion school box. Like, look at this. You can understand her design process. She designs flat on the floor, flat on the table. It's not pure shape. And then when the human body goes into it, it comes to life and takes on another shape. I've always felt a strong affinity for this kind of design process, even though I know all and have taught, all the other traditional stuff, sleeves, collars, darts. I mean, this has all of that, but look, it's just different. She calls these butterflies. Can you see why she calls them butterflies? Okay, that's not butterflies, but so this is more of her original print designs. But there are a lot of pages that show her flat garments, and it's just incredible. Also, she was in the era of these designers really telling a new story every season, and you can also see how her personal life unfolded through her, each collection, and how she developed as an artist and a designer. Totally love this book. Just had to put it in there. So that's my little manifesto about not learning all of the traditional ways of dressmaking, because they can sometimes cut you off from your own instinct. I think it's excellent to follow your instinct as well and really develop your own unique methods for creating clothing, especially if you really want to have a unique line of your own. You don't underestimate the power of making your own discovery and telling your own story. Two last books I'm going to show you today. One is Draping, the Complete Course. This is another book that I reviewed, and I really enjoyed it because we never had a book like this in my day. I mean, the photos are amazing. I mean, the thing is, to actually put this stuff into practice, you would need a dress form. Ideally, like a real dressmaker's dress form is like $400, $500, and you'd have to get it delivered to home as well. But you may be at a fashion school, you may have access to mannequins, but this book really breaks down, and I've taught all of this, really breaks down, how to cut your muslin, how to create all the basic silhouettes and sleeves, and it also, and you know already how much I love ethnic clothing. They actually give an ethnic reference for like the roots of every garment shape. So you're kind of looking back into tradition and history and stuff like that. And it teaches you how to create your basic bodice, your basic sleeve, skirt, pant, all your basic slopers. And it comes with a CD, so you actually get to see the teacher moving. I really recommend this book. It's funny, she does make a point inside one of the lessons, which is like, here's the garment on the runway, here's the muslin. Notice that it looks much shorter and wider on the mannequin than it does on the runway model. It's because the runway model is not it's not a direct translation, and this is something I always talk about in my courses. I help you draw in a way that what you draw translates. Also, it's beautiful, it's fashion, it's exciting, it's amazing, but it also translates onto a human body and translates onto your mannequin, and it's not only fantasy. Finally, pattern making for fashion design. This is the old version from when I was in school. I never needed a new one, but I love for two reasons. You may not be interested in sewing or any of that, or you may be totally interested in that stuff. This book allows you to self-teach yourself to make your whole sloper set, and also to understand the principles that I had just finished telling you not to learn. How sleeves work, how we add fullness, how you can create fashion designs on a flat tabletop by altering basic pattern shapes. Patterns that you buy at the store, ready-made patterns, always have seam allowance added to them already, and it makes me so sad because it really disempowers the sewer from learning how those patterns really work. A book like this teaches you how to make your own patterns. You see the stitching line on every one of your patterns, not just the cutout seam allowance line. Probably getting too technical for you right now, so just stay with me. I will tell you one more thing about this book. Aside from pattern making and sewing, the main point why I think this book is so amazing is because not only does it, and you may think these look dated, I don't care, Not only does it describe how a principle works in garment making creation, but the line drawings are just white and black with a gray shadow. So they're excellent reference, whether you like the style or not. Seeing how they use line and shadow to draw form, and how basic things are drawn. Let me just find another great, aside from, showing you what the slipper set looks like, you get these drawings. There we go. They can show you how they did shine there, how they drew the darts, the collar. It's very, very, I think it's very, very useful to see how those basic shadows are drawn. Forget the style, just the shading and the detail. Because when we work in full color illustrations, which we are going to work in full color illustrations in my Masterclass series, getting your portfolio ready, even when you have a full color outfit, there are shadows that underlie that whole illustration. I'll help you make the connection. But that book, if you ask me, if I had to buy one book out of all these, it would be that pattern making book for the drawings alone. There are lots of illustration and drawing books out there. I will not recommend any of them because they are all, to me, too skinny, too tall, too skinny, too tall, it's not too skinny, too tall. It's fine to be skinny and tall. It is not fine to be completely distorted. As a woman, I just can't. I have daughters. I'm a mom. I just don't. I don't think it's necessary. I see beautiful women everywhere, and they're all real. And when I see a drawing, the illustration that has not that it's played up for beauty, but it's actually taken her body and broken its integrity into something else. This is not something I'm into. So I went off on a tangent. I hope you enjoy these books. I would get the pattern making book first, but that is the most expensive one. That one's like $100. The draping book I think is maybe like $65, and all the other books are from like $20 to $50. You don't have to get all of them, but I think you probably had some light bulb go off when I was talking. You already became excited about one of those books. Maybe you get one of them and use it to kind of kickstart as an investment in the love that you have for what you do, the love you have for fashion. It's important. It's important to follow your dreams, even if this is just something you do in your living room. That is important because when you create, you connect with your spirit. It's a grounding, balancing, magical place. Once you open the door to start creating, you will feel a flow of ideas, almost as if you're not doing it. It just comes. And then when you're done, you have this thing that wasn't there before. This act of creativity is amazing. Thank you for joining me today. If you've listened to the end, I'm so glad. Don't forget to subscribe. I have free gifts on my website always for new subscribers, and I'll send out occasional updates and articles to help you with your development. And I have my Masterclass series. We have a ton of Masterclasses. They're all up there already. They are designed to be taken in order, and I start with beginner. So what they take you through is getting to a fully developed designer portfolio, but it's step-by-step model drawing, how to match color from your swatch to your illustration, how to create textures, how to capture shape, how to have really good line, how to lay out your stuff, how to think about clothing as a group of garments, how to sketch detail. Oh, it's so exciting. I love it. And above all, I'm so excited. Everyone knows about finding your voice and your point of view and share that. And I'm also very much interested in digital and social media. You don't have to go that way. I've actually had always resisted it, but I'll always give you some relevance of how you can share your work, how you can grow an audience, how you can market yourself, and how you can use some of the digital tools and play around with them. But it's all founded in what's in that Masterclass series that is pencil, paint, paper, fabric, a really sensual experience. Because for me, fashion is a tactile, sensual life experience. It's a rooted, earthy experience and a heavenly experience. And I want to share that with you. So thank you for joining me today. Hope to see you again soon. Like if you like this. subscribe, share with a friend, and thank you for joining me today. I'm Laura Volpintesta, Fashion Illustration Tribe.